When I'm ovulating, my BF says sex isn't as fun because there's not as much friction. Is this a thing for guys? When you're ovulating, you produce cervical mucus. Some women produce a lot of it and it's too slippery, so there's a lack of sensation. But you can just pull him out, then wipe off the cervical mucus and go back and dot. I'm surprised you don't notice TBH. My wife is obviously more aroused when ovulating, but prefers the feeling of sex when she's not. She dislikes the lack of friction and actually needs clitoral stimulation to finish when she's on her fertile window instead of being able to orgasm purely from penetration the rest of her cycle. As for me, I prefer the sensation more when there's more friction. But I do still very much enjoy the wild and crazy things that can get going when everything is gliding smoothly lol. Can't believe so many comments roasting the guy. Everyone has different things that they are into. Some guys get off by having metal rods put in their penis or their balls being stepped on, so hearing of someone liking it drier isn't a surprise. It's not like he decided this is something he should be into either. People just like what they like, and he is being open and honest about it like he should be in a relationship. I, personally, prefer a lot of natural or synthetic lubrication. That being said, there is nothing wrong with wanting a higher level of friction. There are people who prefer the increased friction as they need the extra sensation to remain erect. I knew a guy who was circumcised and regularly complained about it, saying how he now would go limp without a certain level of friction. A lot of people here dissing him for what is probably not his fault. It's his body. Sexual compatibility is a thing. I do think he could be less of a dick about it though, as it's not OP's fault that each month a fertility cycle happens. A lot of guys are negative or dismissive about it, saying that it's gross or whatever. I'm sure that all men would complain to fuck if they had to bleed out their dicks once a month with all the effects that it comes with: runny tummy, moody, weight gain, headaches, etc. My wife's natural lubrication changes through the month, yes. Sometimes we stop and wipe dry and carry on. It's a thing. When it's really wet, I don't last as long. Everyone's different. In the past, at times when my husband and I accidentally used too much lube, neither of us felt quite as much, and that was mildly less fun. Stands to reason that could happen with natural lubrication too. If this is a mild preference thing with respect to your boyfriend's ideal amount of lubrication vs friction, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But if he's like, I don't want you to be lubricated, sex needs to be uncomfortable for you, then that seems like a big deal. Personally, that just turns me on more. The wetter the better, I usually say. Means she's enjoying herself a lot, which is a turn on. But maybe he's just used to masturbating dry and thus wetter makes things more difficult for him. I'd try opening a conversation about that. Ask him about whether he uses lube, lotion or spit, and how much when masturbating. If he is used to using little lubrication and gripping really tight when masturbating, sex with a turned-on woman is gonna feel less for him, since that would be less friction. Another idea is to try masturbating together to see what he usually does and go from there. Maybe he needs to get used to using more lubrication when masturbating. Hope that helps a bit at least. Is your boyfriend's name Ben Shapiro by any chance? Shit, it ain't for me. Whenever my girlfriend is ovulating, my libido gets cranked TF up. Don't need lube, and the smell of her pheromones drive me absolutely crazy with lust. No idea what the hell your boyfriend is going on about. But this is just about the dumbest fucking reasoning I've heard for not having sex with someone. Maybe he's too desensitized and needs to take a break from wanking or fucking so he can reset. I went through this personally, but I knew I was the problem. Personally, abstained for 2 weeks and that helped. That's normal. At least out of the people I know. Can make it harder to finish for sure. Never noticed it myself. Just happy to get in there. That is not a thing for my husband. He enjoys sex no matter how wet I am. But if I am overly wet, it does make it harder for him to last. I've literally never heard of this. This is a thing for some people for sure. And super normal of your body during ovulation. Happens to me too. I will say there's no such thing as too wet though, because if you're an adult who knows how bodies work, you should be excited when your partner is crazy wet. But I digress. The friction thing is an easy fix. Keep a soft towel nearby, and if he's losing the friction he needs, he can pull out and give himself a wipe to make things a little less wet. Experimenting with different positions might also help. I definitely recommend having a conversation with him about this though, because he could have asked about solutions instead of telling you you're ruining his fun by being too into it. Having a physical reaction that's out of your control. Not the vibe at all. There are so many negative comments here, I don't get it. I know what he's talking about. There comes a point when the decreased friction leads to less sensation, and it's going to be hard to ejaculate. This, however, does not mean that it's less fun, it just means that you have to find another position or try something else for a while. It's a good thing to be able to keep going longer, because that means you have got more time to experiment and try out new things. Also, some people claimed that it's a size issue, and I can assure all of you that unless he has a micropenis smaller than 3 inches, it's definitely not the case. Oh, weird. My partner thinks I use too much lube, but I like it slick. When it sounds like fisting macaroni and cheese, it's the best time to do it.